Sometimes we get what we want, but we may not like what we get. So it's the opposite of a blessing. It's a curse. And maybe it sounds as if I'm about to recap a horror story, which I may be forced to do if some of those radical left politicians win public office. Now, many Republican commentators have said that if New York City is dumb enough to elect Zohran Mamdani, the people of the city deserve what they get. Now, I understand that point of view. Folks may have to hit bottom before they grasp the impact of their choices. Now, I'm still holding out hope that the voters of New York City will hit the brakes in time and elect the only candidate qualified to run a complicated political machine like the city of New York and elect Andrew Cuomo as mayor. He won both debates, hands down, and it wasn't even close. In comparison, his opponents, Zohran Mamdani and Curtis Sliwa, looked like children. They're great talkers. They have great dreams, as children do. But to me, as a viewer, it was like watching emotional finger painting. They were speaking out of their emotions, dipping their fingers into finger paint, and painting a picture with their fingers. They did not come off as serious candidates. Debates are important. For example, President Trump won the election last year by winning both of his debates, and he was the only candidate who participated in both debates. Let's recall that Joe Biden was the Democrats' candidate during the first debate, Kamala Harris, the candidate in the second. I watched both of those debates. President Trump won them both and went on to win the election. Kamala Harris is doing a book tour now because apparently she'll be running for president again in 2028, and she's mystified still why she lost in 2024. Now, I don't know all the reasons why she lost, but she did only participate in one debate and she lost it. So, not showing up to a debate is always a huge problem for political candidates, and showing up has its drawbacks as well if the candidate doesn't know what they're doing. Now, that's why a candidate might dodge a debate, for example, which is what happened in the Virginia lieutenant governor's race this year. The Democrat Ghazala Hashmi refused to debate the Republican John Reed II. Hashmi, the Democrat, deserves to lose. Now, they're polling neck and neck, apparently, but she deserves to lose by a large margin for refusing to debate, and it makes me question the validity of any polling that has her out front. I believe most voters do care about issues. If the politicians are going to raise taxes, which various candidates have promised to do, I find it difficult to believe some of the polling that has them out front. And if candidates are out there touting the alleged propriety of allowing biological males to use women's bathrooms and girls' locker rooms, and if they're saying defund the police or the police are racist or ICE is racist, and if they're saying shut down the government until illegal aliens are allowed to receive Medicare and SNAP, I don't believe polling that has those candidates out front. I watched the Virginia governor's election debate this year. The Republican current Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earle-Sears was the clear winner. Now, most pundits disagreed with me, but Winsome Earle-Sears won that debate hands down. She was the only candidate on the debate stage who came across as a leader. Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat, who's leading in all of the polls by large margins, came across as timid and angry. She's never held an executive position before. Her previous jobs were CIA officer and former member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Those are not executive positions. Spanberger, in my view, is not an executive type. Winsome Earle-Sears, in contrast, although the pundits faulted her for talking over her opponent, but she only did that when Spanberger quit being substantive in her responses. Now, one of the debate moderators was quite harsh with Winsome Earle-Sears, telling her to stop talking several times. But by the end of the debate, it seemed she had won him over. He knew that Earle-Sears had won the debate. With Spanberger, in contrast, her interaction with the debate moderators was very much Q&A, Q&A. Now, you didn't see her taking control at any point in the debate, not even trying to take control and failing, which would have been acceptable if she had tried, but she did not try. She thought her role was just to answer every question put to her. Q&A, Q&A. Now, if Spanberger is elected, it would make me very nervous for the state of Virginia because she's not an executive type. To conclude, let me just circle back to the beginning. I mentioned that sometimes we get what we want, but we may not like what we get, and that it sounded like I was about to recap a horror story. Well, I believe we all read that story in school, The Monkey's Paw by W.W. Jacobs. The story is about a couple and their grown son. They host a friend of the family for dinner. He's a military officer who served with the British Army in India during colonialism. He shows them a mummified monkey's paw, which he says is cursed. It will grant 3 wishes, but a curse comes with it. He throws it into the fireplace. Later, the couple retrieve the monkey's paw and wish for $5,000 to pay off a debt. Let's think of it as a credit card. Now, the next day, their son is mutilated in an accident at work and dies. The company denies responsibility but pays out $5,000. Overcome with grief, the mother demands that her husband make a second wish for their son to return from the dead. That night, they hear a horrific sound just outside the door. It sounds as if someone dragged himself across the ground and is now standing outside their door. They hear another knock. Then whoever is standing outside throws himself at the door, trying to break it down. The wife, meanwhile, is overjoyed. She believes it's their son come back from the dead. She goes toward the door, but her husband stops her. He grabs the monkey's paw to make a final wish. She tries to stop him. They grapple with the object until finally the man grabs the monkey's paw from her and makes the final wish. He doesn't want his son to return from the dead. All of a sudden, the noise outside the door goes quiet. They open the door, and there's no one there. So that story illustrates the principle. Sometimes we get what we want, but we may not like what we get. Now, if someone hands us a monkey's paw and says, here, make a wish to freeze your rent, wish for free buses, free everything, but we're not promised any of that in the Constitution. It sounds like a deal with the devil. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe.